Okay, so we are live. I'm not sure how many people can see me, but I will go ahead and record the webinar and I'll get it up uh, on the page so everybody can see as soon as possible after I'm finished. Okay, so I am going to take us into the presentation. Sorry about the delay. And okay, so we're going to share my screen here. And here's the presentation. Okay, so you all should be able to see my screen now. Okay, and here we go. So we're going to start the presentation. Welcome to the How to Kick Butt in Life, Work, and Play with 8 Simple Strategies. Okay, the most important thing with this webinar is to take action on at least one thing that I talk about, because just listening to it is really not going to change anything for you. Okay, so who am I and why should you care? I'm the owner of Young Strength and Fitness Systems since 2007. Out of that, we run a bunch of things: Improvement Warrior Fitness, yoga, Athletic Revolution, a couple online programs, and all that good stuff. Most important thing in regards to this webinar is I consider myself to be the human guinea pig. So since 2011, I've basically been doing a whole bunch of different things on fitness, mostly with nutrition, and I'm bringing those results to you because I'm trying to find simply what works absolutely the best. Also done some things with my health in terms of other things that we're doing that we're going to talk about, and they're part of the 8 simple strategies. Okay, and some of the things I'm going to talk about today, don't believe me, just do your own research. Okay, because a lot of the things I'm going to talk about go completely against the grain of what we're told and have been told for many years and many decades. Okay, so Improvement Warrior, last thing on there, that's basically how I try to live my life. I've trademarked Improvement Warrior, so got a whole bunch of Improvement Warrior things coming down the pipeline, book, podcast, all kinds of good things coming for you to help you become the Improvement Warrior. Okay, the 8 things we're going to discuss today: nutrition, and then we got some subcategories in there. Your fitness, we can talk about sitting, breathing, sleeping, water, regeneration, and mindset. And then we'll tie it all together with what do I do. There'll be questions at the end, but again, I'm not sure if anybody can see me, so I might just be doing this for myself. So if you do have questions, I'll post this, and then you can just ask the questions there, and then I'll answer them as best I can. Okay, but the lowdown on our current state of the union. So these are current and future statistics. So these statistics, most of them are coming from 2010. So as of 2010, 66% of adults are overweight, which is a BMI over 25. I don't put too much stock into BMI if somebody is an athlete or they're working out pretty furiously, because muscle will add to that. But BMI, if you're not working out, does still apply. 66% overweight, 33% children and adolescents, 72 million Americans obese in 2010, and then in 2014 that number went up 6.6 million in just 4 years. Okay, so it is going to get a lot worse before it starts to get better. Okay, 18% of 6 to 11-year-olds and 18% of 12 to 19-year-olds. Okay, so that number's been going up steadily. 7 to 8 million adults are extremely obese, which is a BMI over 40. And thousands are deemed super obese, okay, which is a new category that was just created in 2010, okay, because it was deemed necessary. But it should never, something like that should never be deemed necessary. Experts predict 9 out of 10 people will become overweight or obese at some point in their lifetime. Okay, and almost every single adult by 2048 will be overweight if the current trend continues. So let's stop the trend. So is it as simple as calories in, calories out? Okay, obviously no, because if it was, then every single person who ever went on a diet would be on that same diet and they would have their dream body, their perfect body. But obviously, we're not in that state. Okay, so moving on, carbs and fat. Okay, first section, nutrition. All right, so first section, it was all a guess. Okay, what if it's all been a big fat lie? That is a article from Gary Taubes that was written in 2002. So it basically started the nutrition revolution. A lot of people are still on the other side of the fence, and hopefully with this webinar you'll be learning a whole bunch of things that you did not know. Okay. All right. Dax can hear me. Great. Awesome. That's awesome. So what I want you to do, you can Google that. It's an article. It's on the New York Times. You'll pull it up. I highly suggest reading that. What if it's all been a big fat lie by Gary Taubes? And basically, fat versus carbs. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to do your own research here. You can believe me. I've done the research. I've done the experiments on myself. I've followed the recommendations for many, many years, and I was very unhealthy. And yeah, so the current recommendations right now, 60% you should eat carbohydrates, or 60% of your total daily calories should come from carbs, 20% from protein, and 20% from fat. Okay, what I want you to do is I want you to think about your carbohydrate intake, and I want you to switch it. So I want your fat to become the more prevalent, and I want your carbohydrates to drop. Okay, so about 60% fat, 20% or lower with your carbohydrates. Okay, that is what's going to happen, because when we get more into carbohydrates, we're going to learn that is what is making you fat. Okay, so in 1994, the American Diabetes Association, they upped the carbohydrate intake to 60 to 70% total daily calories. Okay, is it a coincidence from 97 to 2007 that the diabetes rate doubled in the U.S.? Okay, I don't think it is. And then there's, with diabetes, 5% is type 1 diabetes, and the other 95% is type 2. Type 2 is completely curable. If you know somebody or you have diabetes yourself and you have a doctor that wants to manage your diabetes, highly suggest you fire that doctor. Okay, there's no reason to manage it. Diabetes is completely reversible, and it can happen in a matter of months. So find a practitioner that will help you reverse the diabetes. Okay, and your brain. Okay, we're going to talk a lot about the brain. It's 3 to 5% of your total body weight. It uses 25% of your total caloric energy. Okay, and 60% of your brain is made up of fat. Okay, so if you're eating the standard American diet where you're only eating 20% of your calories from fat, the brain is not getting the nutrient that it needs. Okay, so it's actually getting smaller and getting dumber, so to speak. Okay. Metabolic syndrome. Okay, this is a condition that I think it's like 2/3 of the country has, and it's expected to go up to quite high numbers, like 80, 85, 90% in the next 20 years. If you have one of these, so basically if you have it's 5 conditions. If you have 3, you're considered to have metabolic syndrome. If you only have 1, then I would start to worry and start to take some lifestyle actions. Okay, so the first one is if your waist is 40 inches for a man, 35 inches for a woman or more. Okay, Europe standard is a little lower. They are a little healthier country or continent than we are overall. But yeah, so that's the first standard. Number 2 is triglyceride levels. If your triglyceride levels are 150 milligrams or higher, then you need to start worrying. So optimal levels would be about 100 or less. Okay, we're going to talk a lot more about triglycerides because it is an independent risk factor for a whole lot of issues. Okay, if your HDL-C is less than 40 for a man, less than 50 for a woman. If your blood pressure is 130/85 or you're on blood pressure medication, and if your fasting glucose is 100 or you're on 100 or greater, or you use medication for hyperglycemia. Okay, if you have 3 of those, you have metabolic syndrome, and you need to start taking action now. If you have 2 or 1, in my opinion, you still need to take action now. And I'll present on some other stuff that can help you. Okay, so how carbs make us fat? Okay, so basically, you start thinking about a meal that contains carbohydrates. Okay, so you don't even need to eat before your body will start to secrete insulin. Okay, before you even eat anything. Okay, then insulin is going to signal the fat cells to stop the release of fatty acids. Okay, so we stop releasing fat from the fat cells into the bloodstream for energy, and we start taking the fatty acids from the bloodstream and we put them inside of the fat cells. Okay, once they're inside the fat cells, they become triglycerides. That raises your triglycerides. It makes the fat cell bigger, and hence makes you bigger. Okay. You start to get hungry or hungrier, or as I like to call it, crungry. So cranky and hungry. So if you do eat carbs, a lot of carbs, when you get hungry, you really get hungry, and a lot of people should stay out of your way. Okay. Then you finally start to eat. Your body starts to secrete more insulin in response to that. The carbohydrates you digest enter the body, and they convert to glucose, which causes your blood sugar levels to rise. Okay, so glucose is the simple form of carbohydrates, so the body wants to break everything down into the simplest form. Glucose is the carbohydrate form, fatty acids is for fat, and then amino acids is for protein. So everything wants to be as simple as possible for the body. Okay. The body releases more insulin to help lower these levels down, okay, to get the blood sugar levels down. Okay. Fat and carbohydrates are stored in the fat cells as triglycerides, and your fat cells get bigger and fatter because of it. Okay, and you get fatter as well as a result. Okay, fat is going to stay in this. Fat is going to stay in the fat cells as triglycerides until your insulin levels drop back to normal. Okay, but the issue with the standard American diet and high carbohydrate diet is a lot of people are just eating carbs all day long. So it's going to go up. You eat breakfast, your blood sugar is going to spike up here. Then it's going to come down. Maybe you have a mid-morning snack. It'll go up, down, lunch, snack, dinner. Okay, it just goes up and up and up and up and up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay, and that's basically your energy levels going up and down throughout the day as well, based on how much carbohydrates you're consuming and all that stuff. Okay, so we want to get it to where our blood sugar levels, our insulin levels are very much going like that. So that means we're burning fat all day long. Okay, the only thing that releases insulin is carbohydrate. There is a way that protein can release insulin if you're on a low carbohydrate diet, high protein diet, but for the most part, just know that insulin or carbohydrates drive insulin. Insulin drives fat. Okay. All right, and then the blood sugar model. So this is just basically a diagram of what we just went over. So again, I want you to think about your fat like we think about carbs now, and think about carbs like we think fat now. So just switch it completely around. Okay. And obviously, there's no such thing as a essential carbohydrate. Okay. And when I say carbohydrate, I'm not including vegetables and fruit in there. Okay. I'm talking about packaged stuff. So anything that comes in a package, pasta, donuts, bread, that kind of stuff. Okay. When I refer to carbohydrates. Okay. Moving on, gluten. Okay. Big problem with gluten. Gluten, it's not just about intestinal health. Well, first off, what is gluten? So gluten is basically, it's Latin for glue. So it gives the stuff, the carbohydrates, its stickiness. Okay, so your muffins, your pizza dough. So I'm sure you've seen the pizza guys spinning the pizza dough around. That wouldn't be able to happen without gluten. Okay, the pizza dough would just fall apart. Okay. So it's not just about intestinal health. So when people think about gluten sensitivity, celiac disease, they think about intestinal health, particularly with the small intestine. Okay. It has been proven to affect neurologically, so it's been proven to affect the brain. Okay, and this happens in everybody, regardless if you're gluten sensitive or celiac. Okay. So it passes the blood-brain barrier. Okay, the other things that pass the blood-brain barrier are alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, cocaine, heroin. Okay, all those things are very, very addictive. Okay, and so is gluten. Okay. Dementia, Alzheimer's, epilepsy, headaches, depression, schizophrenia, ADHD, decreased libido. Okay, these are all things that gluten will affect, and there's a whole host of other things too. I just didn't want to spend 5 slides listing whatever gluten is affecting. Okay, with Alzheimer's, it's said that if you make it to the age of 85, you have a 50% chance of getting Alzheimer's. Okay, and they're now calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. Okay, so it's not as genetic as it used to be thought. Okay, it's a nutritional issue. It's a nutritional disease, but it can be fought off and prevented. Okay, so when you get old, you don't have to get Alzheimer's. And dementia, which is the precursor to Alzheimer's, they say it costs 3 times more, 3 times more to treat dementia than it does cancer in the United States. Okay, so it is a big, big issue. Okay, dementia can also be prevented just like Alzheimer's, based on your nutrition. Okay. All right, moving on. It is silent, but it is deadly. Okay, so even if you don't think you have a gluten sensitivity, you really don't know what is going on inside of your body. Okay, the best way to know is to basically go gluten-free for 21 days, 30 days, and see how you feel. Okay, so I guarantee you will feel better going off gluten, if not for your intestinal health, but for your brain health. Okay, the stickiness, the dough, okay, that is a problem. The nutrients don't get absorbed when you consume gluten. That is a big issue, because if you're not getting the vitamins and minerals that you need, vitamins and minerals control the enzymes inside your body. Enzymes control the hormones inside your body, and your hormones basically control every single thing that goes on with you. So that includes weight loss, fat loss, how you feel, all that stuff. So hormones affect you. Okay, they control you, pretty much. Okay. Again, biggest issue is that it interferes with your neural networks, so it crosses the blood-brain barrier. Very, very addictive. Okay, in my opinion, everybody should be on a gluten-free diet. And I'm not talking about just going to the gluten-free section in your grocery store and getting all that stuff. That stuff it's still crap. A lot of it is GMO, genetically modified, corn and soy, and that's going to cause some more issues. Okay, so yeah, gluten-free. And gluten also affects the leaky gut. Okay, so a lot of people have leaky gut issues. So your small intestines are supposed to be very, very tight junctions, and when you consume a lot of gluten, a lot of carbs, those junctions start to separate, and things will start to get in the bloodstream that should not be in the bloodstream. Okay, so food particles will get in there, bacteria that's not supposed to be in there, even your poop will get into the bloodstream, and that's not supposed to be in the bloodstream. Okay, opiate-like effects. So again, heroin, nicotine, it affects the same areas in the brain that those things do. Okay. All right. And celiac disease, the estimates are between 1 in 200 and 1 in 30. The majority of people that have celiac disease, they don't even know they have it. Okay. So the best way, again, go off gluten, see how you feel. I guarantee you, you'll feel better. Okay. Moving on, this is your brain on wheat. So wheat grains, gluten, all very, very addictive. So in whole wheat, there is a protein called gliadin, and this is basically the nicotine of wheat. Okay, if you are a smoker or you know someone who is a smoker, it's very hard to get off of nicotine, and it's also very hard to get off wheat. A lot of my clients will not do it, no matter what, no matter how much I try and get the information out there. Yeah, so blood sugar. Okay, the higher your blood sugar will be raised, and the longer it stays elevated, the more fattening it is for you. Okay, so higher blood sugar means more insulin is pushed in, pushing those fatty acids into the cells, turning them into triglycerides, raising the triglycerides as well. Whole wheat is, if you know what the glycemic index is it's basically how high and how fast your blood sugar raises. So whole wheat bread will actually raise your blood sugar higher and faster than just regular table sugar. Okay, so wheat is considered the darling of the food industry. All right, when they had the pyramid, they wanted us to get 6 to 12 servings of grains a day. Okay, so the government subsidizes wheat, so they want to keep the wheat farmers here so they can pay them the most and not pay them to get exported. Okay, so it's a big, big problem. Processed food, whole wheat is going to help raise the blood sugar the highest, and it's obviously the most fattening as well. Okay, again, it messes with your mind: ADHD, headaches, autism, brain fog, mental dementia, Alzheimer's. It said there was a study that said 1 in 100 people will go through life without any cognitive decline through life. Okay, so memory loss, dementia, Alzheimer's. All right, but that is preventable because the majority of people right now are still on the standard American diet, but hopefully we'll get the information out there to help people change their life. Okay. All right, your emotions. Okay. Your emotions is a big issue because food will affect your thoughts. Your thoughts will affect your emotions. Emotions will affect your actions, and your actions will affect your life. Okay, so things that spike your blood sugar are going to do the most damage because they're going to give you headaches, they're going to give you brain fog, they're going to cause certain issues that we do not want when we eat other foods like protein and fat as the majority of our diet. Okay, finally, inflammation. Okay, inflammation is it's the biggest issue in America. If you've never heard of inflammation, basically it opens you up to every single disease on the planet. Okay, so it might be different for person A, C, D. So person A might get diabetes, person B might get Alzheimer's, person C might get just might become obese or overweight. Okay, it's just all depending on your epigenetics, your environment, and your nutrition. What genes will get turned on and what you will get. Okay, so basically, what inflammation is there's battles going on inside of you. So you eat certain foods, you take in certain toxins, you don't work out, then certain little battles will go on. Okay, so there'll be like little civil wars inside your body, and your body will send in like the troops to help fight the civil war. They will usually win, but if it keeps going on and on and on, eventually your body's going to get beaten down, and you're not going to survive. Okay, every time there is a battle, there's scar tissue and stuff like that. So we don't want to be inflamed. We'll talk about more about inflammation here as well. All right, we're moving on to a different thing. So here's a little quick video for you to watch. So, pretty funny commercial, and nice segue into our next section, which is sugar. All right. So, sugar. Okay. Some stats on sugar. Americans consume 48 teaspoons a day per person on average of sugar or sweeteners. Okay. So for a teaspoon is equal to 4 carbohydrates. Okay. So that's how you tell by looking at the nutrition value how much sugar is in a certain thing. So if there's 12 grams of carbohydrates in there, there's 3 teaspoons of sugar. Okay. So sugar, major issue. It suppresses your immune system. So you have decreased functioning cells. Okay, which will lead to sickness and all that stuff, colds, flus, earaches, headaches. Okay, increases the acidity in your body. Okay, so it's very acid-like. So again, acid will burn through things that we don't want to be burned through. And they did one study that showed 2 teaspoons at a time is the limit for a healthy person. So what an unhealthy person or an obese person, I don't know. But 2 teaspoons is 8 grams of carbohydrates. So consuming that at one time might be the limit of sugar. Okay, and obviously 48 teaspoons a day, somebody is eating a lot more than 2 teaspoons at one time. Okay. Another problem with sugar is they leach out minerals and vitamins. Okay, so just like gluten does, just like wheat does, it will take those vitamins, minerals out. The biggest way it does it is through AGEs, which is advanced glycating end products. So basically, you eat the sugar, it comes in, it combines up with a protein, and it will start to, it'll turn that protein rogue. So basically, now that protein can't get to the areas, the muscles it needs to go to repair the body. And basically it's bouncing all around, hitting into different walls. It's causing those civil wars, causing the inflammation, and so it's very, very bad. Also causes oxidation, which causes you to age a lot quicker. Okay. All right. One reason to check the ingredient labels. Okay. So Ensure is promoted, marketed as a healthy drink, especially for seniors. 8 ounces of it, 50 grams of carbs, 50 grams of sugar. Okay, so 12 teaspoons of sugar right there. Coke, 8 ounces, 26 grams of sugar. Okay, yeah, so you need to check the labels. Always look at them, read the labels. Doesn't matter what it says on the packaging. That's just what the company wants to sell you on. Okay. All right, and if sugar can make holes out of very hard tissues, like your teeth, just think about what it can do to your soft ones. Okay, so basically your liver, your kidneys, your stomach, your small intestine, okay, leaky gut, all that stuff. Okay, and sugar might quite possibly the hardest addiction to give up. More addicting than hard drugs because it's basically everywhere and it's super cheap. Okay, so you can go to 7-Eleven, you can get a big gulp, 64 ounces of Coke or whatever, for like 99 cents. Okay, if that was cocaine, it would cost like 10 grand. All right, so it's everywhere. It's super, super cheap. Okay, and then the main thing is you need to stop blaming yourself. So if you do have a sweet tooth, you do have a sugar craving all the time, stop blaming yourself because that depresses your neurotransmitters, dopamine and serotonin in particular, which will increase your cravings for more sugar. Okay, and we'll be talking about a way that you can get off of sugar completely and forever. Okay, and sugar, number 1 dietary contributor to coronary heart disease. Remember, everything that you eat, all carbohydrates, all processed carbohydrates, bread, wheat, pasta, donuts, everything turns into sugar into the body. Okay. All right, and then here we have just some comparisons. So bag of M&Ms, 7 teaspoons of sugar. A whole can of Prego, 12.5 teaspoons of sugar. Okay, hopefully nobody will eat the entire bag of M&Ms or the whole entire bag of Prego or can, but just as an example. Okay, 80% of the food items in most U.S. grocery stores are spiked with added sugar or added sweeteners, and it's predicted 1/3 of Americans will have diabetes by 2050. Okay, so like I said, it's going to get worse before it gets better. All right, and then here is something I just put in here, fruit. Okay, fruit is natural. It does have vitamins and minerals. It does have fiber, but it is still sugar. And if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to maintain a healthy body fat, then sugar needs to be maintained, or what's the word I'm looking for? Limited. Okay, so that moves us into one of my challenges that I recently did. So I did this challenge in June of 2014. So the picture on the left was me before, and the picture on the right is me after. Okay, so I basically did 21 days of fruit, 5 servings of fruit a day. Okay, so the 5-a-day campaign that they promoted. The results that I got, my body weight stayed the same, 177. Okay, and then my body fat went up 2.5% in 21 days. Okay, the only thing I changed, calories stayed the same. I did drop my fat intake to get the more fruit intake in. So I went from 12.2% body fat to 14.7 body fat. Okay, so fruit does make you fat. I'll talk about why, but the majority reason is because of fructose. I'm going to talk about that on the next slide here. Okay. And this is just where I added the most fat. So on my waist, I added 2 millimeters of fat, okay, which is a whole lot in just 21 days. But my scapula, I added 5.3. So I went from 4.7 to 10 millimeters of fat on my scapula, so my upper back, shoulder blades. Okay. So that's just where I added. Different people add it different places. So usually men will add it on their waist, and women might add it on their hips and thighs. Okay. Most of the other areas went up as well. Okay. Fructose and glucose. Okay. So the two different kinds. All right. Fruit is a naturally occurring form of fructose. I'm sure you've heard of the man-made fructose, high fructose corn syrup, and other things, which is very, very bad. Stay away. But you can have too much fruit. So if you eat too much fructose like I did, so I ate 5 servings, then that's an issue. I always tell my clients, if you're trying to lose body fat, then fruit needs to be limited to 1 to 2 servings a day, and preferably in the first part of your day. Okay, and preferably in season. Okay, so in the winter you're not going to be eating too much fruit. Okay. But the most important thing to know about glucose and fructose, they both suck. Okay. With glucose, sometimes it is okay to get some glucose in, as long as it's from a natural source. So like sweet potatoes and stuff like that. The glucose I'm referring to here when I say suck is the processed food, so the grains, the packaged food, all that stuff. Okay. All right. With fructose, you have 7 times more AGEs, advanced glycating end products. Okay, so the sugar meets up with the protein, causes it to go rogue, bounces around inside your cells and your walls, causing inflammation. 7 times more with fructose. And your triglycerides, they're going to go up, 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 up with fructose consumption. Okay, again, triglycerides, independent risk factor for a lot of things: heart disease, cancers, strokes, all that bad stuff that we do not want. Okay. All right, and then comparison: 12 ounces of soda, 22 grams of fructose. A can of apple juice, 12 ounces, 24 grams of fructose. Okay, so don't drink your fruit. Don't buy fruit juices. If you are a juicer, the correct way to juice, you should be juicing about 90% of the juice should come from green vegetables, and then the other You can add whatever. Usually when I juice, I will take green juice, about 95% green juice, and then I'll add like a lemon or a lime. Lemon and lime will have the least carb impact, the least fructose in it, plus it's very detoxing to the body. Okay, and it is also best to blend your juices, okay, because that way you're still going to get the fiber. When you juice, fiber is taken out, you just get the vitamins and minerals. Okay, so it will spike blood sugar as well, a little bit. Okay, and then the biggest issue with fructose is how it's processed. Okay, so fructose is processed straight through your liver. Okay, with glucose, it goes through the blood-brain barrier, so it releases, it spikes your blood sugar, it releases insulin, but you know when to stop eating because you can feel yourself getting full. With fructose, you cannot feel yourself getting full. So the hormone leptin tells you when to stop eating because you're full. Fructose, you can eat all day. Leptin won't be triggered. It actually triggers a hormone called ghrelin, which tells you to keep eating. Okay, so you can basically eat fructose all day and not get hungry. Okay, last thing on here is agave. Okay, that's been touted as a super healthy alternative sweetener. Okay, it's not. It's 90% fructose, so basically all of that is turned into fat. And I'm sorry, fructose, pretty much the majority of it, again, it's processed through the liver. So again, you don't get those signalings of insulin and blood sugar spikes, but the majority of fructose, pretty much all of it, goes straight to the fat cells. Okay, so pushes those fatty acids into the fat cells, turning them into triglycerides, making those fat cells bigger, which we do not want. Okay. All right. And this is just a picture of chronic ethanol consumption versus chronic fructose consumption. Okay. So ethanol is alcohol. Okay. So if you look at it, it's basically the same all the way across the board. Okay, just slight variations across there. Okay, so the difference between ethanol is that it's processed in the liver like fructose, but it crosses the blood-brain barrier. Okay, so that's the reason you can't drink alcohol all day, otherwise you'll die. Okay, so in this regard, it might be the same if you drink like a Coke or you drink like a Budweiser. To the body, it's basically the same thing. Okay, body doesn't know the difference. The only thing is that alcohol will cross the blood-brain barrier. Okay, moving on again, saturated fat. Okay, saturated fat, this is the supposedly the most vilified fat. Okay, you're not supposed to eat fat. So if you do eat fat, eat healthy fats. Do not eat saturated fat. Okay, I remember when I used to eat the standard American diet, I would say you have your 20% of eating your fat calories. The 20% of that, take 10% of the 20%, and that should be your saturated fat intake limit. Okay, that's when I was ill-informed, okay, so to speak. Saturated fat is the most important fat to your body. It regulates inflammation, so it helps to fight inflammation in your brain and your gut. Probably the two most important places that inflammation occurs and it needs to be fought. Okay, it is the preferred fuel source over glucose, and it's the preferred source for your heart as well. Okay, and no study has ever linked saturated fat to coronary heart disease or cholesterol for that matter. It was all a hypothesis. Okay, so it was all basically a guess. And we've basically been lied to for the past 40, 50 years. Okay, so a good book, Why We Get Fat by Gary Taubes, goes over the whole history of the story, the backstory. Also, Denise Minger's Death by Food Pyramid will go over that. Or you can just Google Ansel Keys, 7 country studies. I consider Ansel Keys the Hitler of nutrition. But basically, his 7 country studies, he plotted 7 countries that showed the more saturated fats you eat, the higher your rate of coronary heart disease. Okay, but what he didn't do was there was like 22 other countries that he didn't include in the study. He just basically just cherry picked and to show what he wanted to show, and that's the reason we're eating low fat, all that bad stuff. Okay, bones need saturated fat to put calcium in the bones. Okay, otherwise they're going to go into the arteries, and the arteries will be calcified. Okay, that will cause inflammation. That will cause heart disease, all that bad stuff. It raises the good HDL and the good LDL. Okay, we'll get in cholesterol here in the next slide. Saturated fat lowers your triglycerides. Okay, so very important for that. Sources, you have grass-fed butter, coconut oil, palm oil, egg yolks, bacon. Most animal meats are going to have saturated fat. Cheeses. Okay. Other types of dairy, non-pasteurized dairy preferably. And then we have the bad fats. Okay, the bad fats are vegetable oils. Okay, I know you've been told to eat canola oil and all that stuff, but canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, all that stuff, peanut oil, very, very bad. Probably the worst things you can eat, even worse than carbohydrates, because they are rancid when you buy them on the shelf, and then you go home with them, you cook at them at high heat, they become even more rancid, which causes oxidation in the body, which causes premature aging, will cause inflammation, all the bad stuff you don't want. Then we have omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-6 isn't bad per se, but if you're eating a lot of carbs, you're eating standard American diet, the bad unpastured meats, omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is going to be out of balance. So omega-6 is an essential fat, but we get too much of it. So it should be in the ratio of 1:1 to 3:1 to omega-6 to omega-3. But if you're eating standard American diet, I've seen it as high as up to 50:1, which causes a lot of inflammation. And then we have visceral fat. Visceral fat is the worst fat that you can have. So it's the fat stuck around your organs. Okay. So the worst fat you can have, the most inflammatory, basically causes the TOFI syndrome. So thin on the outside, fat on the inside. So you can have a normal, healthy person who are sick, and most people are, and they just don't know it based on the food that they're eating. They're just gaining and gaining visceral fat to their organs and into their body. Okay. So moving on again, we have cholesterol. Okay, is it a friend or is it a foe? All right. So cholesterol, this is pretty much the standard right here as of right now. So typical doctors will prescribe to this. So if you're over 200, basically you're going to get a prescription pad, and they're going to subscribe you a statin drug to lower your cholesterol. Okay, we'll get into statins here as well. But basically, knowing your overall cholesterol it's pretty much worthless. Okay, it's a worthless number to know. It's basically like switching seats on the Titanic. Okay, so you need to know your different particles. Okay, so your HDL particles and your LDL particles, which I'll get into here. But 2 to 5% of your body's weight is in the brain. Okay, 25% of all of your cholesterol is located in the brain as well. Okay, 1/5 of your total brain weight is cholesterol. Okay, so it's pretty important. So if you're eating the standard American diet, you're eating low fat, which means you're eating low cholesterol. Okay, so your brain isn't getting that fat, your brain isn't getting that cholesterol. Okay, again, your brain is made up of fat. 2/3 of your fat, of your brain is made up of fat, and 25% of that fat is DHA. So DHA is part of the omega-3 family. You have EPA and ALA, which complete it. So if you're not eating fish at least 2 or 3 times a week, I would say every day if possible, or you're not taking a fish oil supplement, then your brain's not getting fueled the fat that it needs. Okay, so fat, cholesterol, DHA fuel the brain, fuel brain health, help to fight off dementia, cognitive disorders, Alzheimer's, all that stuff. Okay. Fat is the preferred fuel source for the human body, okay, for the human metabolism, okay, not carbs. So I used to preach, and I told everybody this when I was just a few years back. You need 120 to 130 grams of carbohydrates a day for the brain to function properly. Okay, that simply is not true. All right, the brain can run on ketone bodies. Ketone bodies is basically fatty acids that your body takes from the fat cells into the bloodstream to fuel performance. Okay, so it's a better fuel. It's a better burning, more efficient fuel, so to speak. Okay. So 120 to 130, I don't know where that number came from. It was just some number that was just thrown out there, probably in some bodybuilding magazine or something, or some big guru said it. So I think it was Lou Ferrigno who said your body can't process more than 50 grams of protein at one time. Okay, there's no scientific study, and as we know, Lou Ferrigno isn't a mad scientist or a chemist, or doesn't know what he's talking about when he said that. So the primary cause of heart disease is inflammation. Okay, so little tiny wars going on inside of your body. Cholesterol is used to fight infections. Okay, so it's an antioxidant. Okay, so it is. So when you do have the inflammation, so when you have those AGEs, sugars, molecules running into everything, everywhere you go, if there's inflammation there, the body is going to send cholesterol there to fight and repair. Okay, yeah, so it's going to send it all there to fight that inflammation, repair it, and then just move on to the next section, or the next part of your body that is inflamed. Okay, so very, very important for that. The lower your cholesterol is, the higher chances of death from all causes. Okay, it's cholesterol makes you smarter. Okay, higher your cholesterol, the smarter you are. Lower it is, basically the dumber you are. Helps with the digestion of vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are the fat-soluble vitamins. So if you're not eating cholesterol, you're not eating fat, you're not going to digest the fat-soluble vitamins. Remember, vitamins and minerals control the enzymes. Enzymes control the hormones. Hormones control the entire body. All right. They help with cell membrane formation. Every single cell in your body can make cholesterol. Okay, that's how important it is. It is a precursor for estrogen and testosterone, and also progesterone, so the sex hormones. Okay, estrogen and testosterone is in both men and women, and it needs to be in a correct ratio. If not, then it's going to fall off, and bad things are going to happen either way. Okay, if estrogen does get too high, then that's when bad things happen. So breast cancer is one of the big things if estrogen becomes too high in the body. Okay. And also the number one cause of infertility is low cholesterol. Okay. All right, some facts on cholesterol. We all make 2,000 grams a day of it. So if you restrict dietary foods that are rich in cholesterol, your body is going to use carbohydrates to make more cholesterol. But that is trouble because that's sugar, and the sugar is going to cause inflammation in the body. All right, again, used to fight infections. So we don't blame firefighters for starting the fire. Okay, we don't blame police officers for robbing banks. Okay, they're there to help and prevent and stop and save lives. Okay, same thing with cholesterol. It's there to help. All right, part of the reason cholesterol got blamed for heart disease was that in the arteries they found cholesterol when they did autopsies of people. Okay, so it was their guilt by association. It wasn't there to hurt the person, it was there to help the person. Okay, and then some studies on heart disease or cholesterol. So you have the Lion Heart Study. Basically, there was a 76% reduction in coronary heart disease without changing cholesterol levels at all. Okay, the Nurses' Health Study. 82% of coronary heart disease was because of 5 factors, none of which was cholesterol. Okay, the 5 factors were lack of exercise, smoking, excess alcohol consumption, high carbohydrate diet, and being overweight. Okay, then you have the Japan study. The group with the lowest level died at the highest rate, so 160 and under. Okay, if you remember the CNN anchor Tim Russett, when he died, his total cholesterol was 105. All right, I didn't know that cholesterol could get that low. Okay, but he basically was inflamed all over, and he didn't have the necessary cholesterol to fight it off. Okay. All right, so moving on. HDL and LDL. All right, so we all know that HDL is the good. We all know that LDL is the bad. Okay, not anymore. All right, so there's good HDL, there's bad HDL, there's good LDL, there's bad LDL. Okay, the good LDL is the large, fluffy particles, and the bad one is the hard, dense. Okay, if you eat too much carbohydrates, then it's going to turn those large, fluffy ones into the hard, dense. Okay, hard, dense will bounce around the cells, causing inflammation, all that stuff. That's when cholesterol starts to correlate to heart disease and stuff. If your LDL, bad LDL particles are too high. Okay, and that's why it's super important to know your LDL, HDL particles and not just your total cholesterol number. Okay, a better way to judge if you're in trouble health-wise, in particular with heart disease, is your HDL to triglyceride ratio. Okay, under 2 to 1 is optimal. 3 to 1, you need to start worrying. You need to make some lifestyle changes quickly. If it's over 5 to 1, then you need to start making some funeral arrangements, or you need to change right now. Okay. All right. Statins, what do they do? Okay. Statins, they basically cut off the supply of cholesterol. Okay. So they stop the body from making its own cholesterol. And I think we've covered how important it is for health and everything. Okay. Its number one benefit statins are is that it's anti-inflammatory. Okay, but the thing is, we can manage inflammation naturally. We don't need a drug. Okay, that has many bad side effects. Okay, too many to name here because we're running out of time. But basically, there was a study, the Jupiter study, so you can Google this. They ended the study early, 1.9 years was the study, and it's probably because they didn't want the study to go longer, so the numbers reversed, which they eventually would have done. But basically, there was like tens of thousands of people in this study. So you had in the statin group, 12 people died. In the placebo group, 12 people died. Okay. So the total number of people in the statin group was 0.76% of deaths from coronary heart disease, and the placebo group 0.35%. Okay, so the difference between that was 0.41%. Okay, but if you take so that was the absolute number, but if you take the relative number was 54%. So if you divide 0.76 by 0.41 or 0.35, then you get 54%. Okay, that was the number that all of the company sent out on the press release, and the press release was what all the news people and all the news stations, reporters, newspapers, they picked that up and they said statins reduce the risk of heart disease by 54%. Okay, which was bull. It was really just 0.41%. Okay. So with a lot of studies, you have to watch that because a lot of companies are doing that. This study was funded by the makers of Crestor, which is the #1 statin on the market. Okay, and then statins and cholesterol lowering stuff, food and all that stuff, it's $29 billion industry. At least it was. I think this is 2011 that it made $29 billion. It's probably up from then. So that's a lot of reasons to lie to the consumer. So just know the pharmaceutical company doesn't really care about the consumer. All they care about is the bottom line. And cholesterol lowering stuff is one of the highest of all the pharmaceutical industry products. Coenzyme Q10. is shut off. So this is the number one most important nutrient for your heart. If you do know somebody who is on statins or you're taking statins yourself, I highly suggest doing the research, trying to get off them as quickly as possible. Cholesterol Clarity is a great book, and The Great Cholesterol Myth by Dr. Bowden and Dr. Sinatra is also another great book. Highly recommend reading those. Liver production is shut down, and statins lower your testosterone. So remember, testosterone and estrogen has to be in correct ratio, otherwise bad things are going to happen. Yeah. So, all right. So moving on. Don't have time to work out. Okay. Moving on to fitness, obviously. Okay. So it's all about priorities and excuses. Okay. So we all have our priorities in life. Most people have jobs that they go to, and the reason they go to is because they have to pay the bills and all that stuff and take care of their family. Okay, so just like a job is a priority, then you have other priorities, things that you love to do. Working out needs to be a priority on everybody's list. Okay, and if it's not a priority, then we make excuses about why we don't do it. Okay, and then we usually wait until we absolutely have to do it before anything happens, and then that's when it's going to be hard and it's going to suck and you're not going to enjoy it. Okay. So this is a picture of me. Every time it's snowstorm, all that stuff, I try and get out and work out outside. So it gets me out of my comfort zone. That's the only way you grow, is getting out of your comfort zone. So it's cold, it's windy, it's all that stuff, and I absolutely love it. But you need to cut the excuses. You need to make a priority. You need to schedule your workouts. Everybody needs to work out. You need to think about the senior you. Okay, so think about the older you. So basically, there's a thing called sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle. Basically, around the age of 40, you start to lose about a pound of muscle a year if you're not training. Okay, so the number one cause of death from accidents from age of 18 to 65 is car accidents. And then after the age of 65, the number one cause of death is falls. Okay, so if you think about it, at the age of 65, you've lost about 25 pounds of muscle already. Okay, so losing muscle is going to make you weaker. Okay, it's going to make you less flexible, going to make you less coordinated. Okay, if you fall down, that's the number one entry to retirement homes. And then once you enter a retirement home, basically the average lifespan is between 12 and 18 months. Okay, because if you think about it, if you fall down, you break a hip, you break a leg, you can't move, your heart's going to get smaller, your brain's going to get smaller. Physical activity stimulates both of those to a high degree. Okay, and you also get depressed. Okay, so think about if you've never been to a retirement home, I mean, it's one of the most depressing places you'll ever be. Highly suggest going into a retirement home and checking it out, or just standing in like the main office, watch the people go by. All right, they don't seem like very happy people. All right, so we need to fix your pyramid. Okay, so everybody's pyramid is wrong. All right, so we're gonna get in shape in under 15 minutes a day, 4 times a week. Okay, so your pyramid. Okay, so this is the new fitness pyramid. So regeneration, mobility. All right, I'm going to talk about regeneration here a little bit more in a bit, but remember the older you. Okay, so you want to stay mobile. All right, if you cannot squat down and stay in a squat hold position for 10 minutes, then your mobility is off. Okay, remember that's how we used to poop. Okay, toilets have been around for not even 200 years. Okay, so some countries still do that. They squat down and they poop. Okay, and true mobility is your ability. You have your feet like stuck together, and then you squat down and you hold that position for 10 minutes. Okay, that would be the ultimate mobility that you have. Okay, but we want to stay mobile. We want to increase that as best we can. Okay, so I'll have I'll have links to all this stuff that can show you how to increase mobility and regeneration and all that stuff. I'll talk about regeneration a little bit more here in a little bit. But second on the list is weight training and intervals. Okay, weight training needs to be when you're working out, it needs to be the number one focus. Okay, and when I'm talking about weight training, I'm talking about hard weight training. So once you're able to do 15 reps with a weight, the weight needs to increase. Okay, it's not about lifting a pink, orange, or blue fluorescent weight 200 times. Okay, that's doing absolutely nothing. It's just wasting your time. One thing you can do is intervals. Okay, we do intervals in our classes all the time. It's pretty much what we do. Everything is time-based. We do it at our physical classes. We do it in our online classes. Okay, so intervals basically take 4 different exercises. So push-ups, jumping jacks, squats, and a row. Okay, so you have that. You do 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off until you complete all of those. You do that for 30 rounds. Basically, you have 15 minutes of total work right there. Okay, so it's very quick, in and out, and it'll also increase your heart rate. Okay, increase your aerobic capacity as well. Okay, even better than cardio. All right, and then here, yoga, qigong, meditation, tai chi, breathing. All right, so I put this in here basically because we need to shut our mind off and we need to breathe through movement. Okay, a lot of people don't know how to breathe correctly, and that's causing a lot of stress on the body. So these types of movement, types of exercise are going to help relieve that. If you put your hand on your chest, hand on your stomach, and you breathe in deeply, fully, and exhale fully. The only thing that should be moving is your belly. Okay, if your chest is moving, you're breathing wrong. So I'll have some breathing stuff that can help you out as well, along with some meditation stuff. But you can do this. Weight training needs to be done. Weight training intervals anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week. Regeneration, mobility, 6 to 7 times a week. Yoga, qigong, meditation can be done every day. Okay. Finally, cardio. Okay, cardio, you can chuck cardio out the window. Okay, it doesn't need to be done. It's a waste of time, in my opinion. All right, if you're an endurance athlete, then by all means get it done. But most people are busy adults. They don't have time to do an hour of cardio every day. Cardio is very metabolically inefficient. Okay, so when you start a cardiovascular program and you do it for an hour, then you would get the full benefit for that full hour. Okay, but after doing it for 4 to 6 weeks, that benefit might only decrease down to 33%. Okay, and that's not what we want. So you would need to increase the time as you get better at it and better at it. Okay, so but in order to be good at cardio, you have to do it a long time, so an hour, 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 times a week to get the full benefit. Plus, it decreases your muscle size, which it decreases your lean muscle tissue, so it decreases your metabolism, all that stuff. So just stay away from it. Weight training intervals is going to be your go-to. Okay. All right. So now we have strength at the office. Sitting is the new smoking. Okay. So sitting is we sit up to 12 hours a day. Okay, so from commute to work, all that stuff. So 21.8 minutes every hour is taken off your life that you sit versus only 11 minutes for every cigarette that's smoked. Okay, so smoking or sitting is the new smoking. Okay. All right, your inflammation goes up, 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 up. Okay, especially in the areas that are being sat on. So your butt, your hamstring, your hips. Okay, your low back. Okay, and your upper back because you're in bad posture. Okay. All right, that picture is me on my standing desk. Okay, so it's just a piece of plastic, and if you haven't noticed, I've been standing this entire presentation. Okay, so it's basically I just have my keyboard, I have my mouse, okay, and there's a big blank section under the bottom. Okay, so under the bottom, I switch between this kneeling, so if I need to write something, I'll just go down right on my desk kneeling, and I'll have a Swiss ball. So I don't know if you can do this at work, but it doesn't hurt to ask. I'm sure they'll let you have a Swiss ball in there. Okay. It is damage, okay? So I'm sure you've seen senior citizens and even not so senior citizens with that are hunched over. They look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, okay? That's called kyphosis, okay? It's damage, all right? It's scar tissue. It builds up over decades, okay? Much like Alzheimer's, heart disease, it builds up over decades. It's not next week you have it, okay? What you do now is going to prevent it or cause the future you, okay? With that, we're back to regeneration mobility. Again, this should be done 6 to 7 times, 5 minimum a day. Everybody in the world should have a foam roller, lacrosse ball, tennis ball, softball, okay? And basically what you do with the foam roller, you basically roll the damage out, okay? So you're rolling over your muscles, trying to get that out of there, okay? Because every day it builds up and it builds up and it builds up, okay? It doesn't matter how old or how young you are, you will have scar tissue, okay? And it does hurt when you first start, and I always say the more it hurts, the more you need it, okay? So yeah, the more it hurts, the more you need it, all right? And yeah, because otherwise it's going to build up, and it's going to cause issues with mobility, which will cause issues with injury and all kinds of stuff, okay? We need to stay mobile. You need to be a supple leopard, okay? Again, everybody should have. You should have. All right. So, almost finished here. Sorry for the delay again. But what to do? All right. The most important things to take action on. There's Bruce Lee. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do. Okay. So remember, take action on at least one thing that you have learned here today. And obviously, ask questions. Post them on the page here once I'm finished. All right. Most important thing, sleep. Okay. I know I didn't talk about sleep, but we're going to talk about it now. It is, and this is in order. Okay. So this is the most important thing. All right. So sleep is the most important thing that you can do for your health. I'm not going to give you a specific time specific number of hours you need to be asleep because it's different for everybody. Okay. But basically, you need to set up a bedtime routine. And to start, it can be as little as half an hour before bed, but eventually it needs to build up. So to preferably 2 hours. Okay. So at least a half an hour, up to 2 hours. Electronics need to be shut off. Okay. No electronics, no TV, no iPad, no iPhone, no whatever. Okay. Computer, all needs to be turned off. Okay. When you do sleep, the room needs to be as dark as humanly possible. Okay, so if you hold your hand in front of your face, you should not be able to see your hand. Okay, get a sleep mask. All right, if possible. Okay, get a sleep mask. But basically, the electronics, there's blue light that comes out of the electronics, the television, all that stuff. So that blue light is basically telling you it's still daytime, okay? So your skin can still see that light. Your eyes will still see that light. So if you're playing on your iPad until it's time to fall asleep, or you fall asleep to the TV, your body is going to think it's still daytime. So it'll release the hormone cortisol, which is basically your stress hormone. So cortisol is supposed to be highest in the morning, so it's supposed to help wake us up, and it's supposed to be lowest at night. The problem with if you're watching TV, you're watching an iPad, cortisol is still elevated at night. And when cortisol is elevated, okay, melatonin is suppressed. Okay, melatonin probably one of the top 3 most important things that happens in your body. If melatonin doesn't get released, you are never ever going to reach REM sleep. Okay, if you never ever reach REM sleep, you are never going to get recovered. So when you only recover when you're in REM sleep. Okay, so a lot of people will think they're getting 8, 9, 7 hours of sleep, but it's never REM sleep. It's just light sleep. Okay, so they never fully recover. Okay, and sleep is going to be the number one thing to affect your hormones, or to change your hormones. So and that will change your body as well. Okay. One thing you can do, and one thing that I've started to do as a biohack for my sleep, is blue light blocking glasses. So I put these on usually a couple hours before. I usually have them on by now, but I couldn't see my writing for this presentation. So I usually put these on, and I'll turn all my lights to orange fluorescent light. I'm not sure if you can see this, but okay, I'll turn all the lights to orange fluorescent lights, or an amber light bulb. Okay, that way there's no blue light in this, and these glasses will block all the blue light coming through. Okay, so those are two things that I've started to do. The other big one is turning off the Wi-Fi when I sleep. Turning off the Wi-Fi on your phone, on your iPad, and turning off the computer Wi-Fi, because that's going to play with havoc on your sleep as well. Okay. And next up we have water. Okay, if you're not drinking the appropriate amount of water, then your body's not going to work correctly. Your body is 70% water, so you need to drink at least half your body weight in ounces. Okay, half your body weight in ounces. 8 glasses of water is not going to be enough for the majority of people. If you're an athlete, you need to drink even more. So my goal is to get 100 ounces of water a day, and if I work out, it's usually more. So my body weight is usually between 175 and 180. So that's about 85 to 90 ounces, but I shoot for 100. Okay. And another thing is you want to make sure that water is fluoride free. Okay. Fluoride is one of the #1 inhibitors of melatonin, and it also inhibits a whole bunch of other things. So the fluoride that is in our water, in your toothpaste, it's not the healthy stuff that you've been told. Okay, most of it is chemical waste from power plants, and it would cost those power plants hundreds of millions of dollars to get rid of that. So they just put it into the water. There's been no studies showing that there's actual health benefits. If there has been, it's again, they're playing with the numbers and trying to fool you. Okay, highly suggest watching a documentary on YouTube. I believe it's called "The Culling of Our Water." I'll find it and put the link on the page for you to see. But it's a great documentary. So fluoride is not the healthy thing you think it is. It's not good for the teeth as well. The one thing that we use, the fluoride filter, is friendsofwater.com. We use their pitcher, and then we also have a shower filter. Okay, shower filter is very important because you can drink like, I'm not sure the exact number, but you can drink a whole lot of water. But the amount of water that goes in your shower for 5-10 minutes, however long it is, you get a whole lot more absorbed into the body because it's all over you and it's hot and it's opening up your pores, so that it's coming into your skin a lot better. So we do have a shower filter as well. So shower filter, fluoride filter that also filters out chlorine and all the other contaminants, lead and chlorine. So, yep, water is #2. #3 is nutrition. Okay. Prepare to succeed. So just prepare your meals all the time. So if you're not prepared, then you're more likely to be coaxed to go out and eat wherever your coworkers are eating or something like that. So set a time, a day, 1 day per week. Plan out your meals, or you can do 2 days per week. Plan out the next 3 or 4 days, or if you do it every night or every morning, whatever works for you. You have to find what is best and what is going to help you succeed with your nutrition. Okay. Then regeneration, mobility. Okay, and then finally your fitness. Okay, so find what works for you. Okay. All right. But none of that really matters. Okay, unless of course, we cultivate a mindset of positivity. Okay, nothing I have said is going to work if you have that negative mindset. Okay, so how do we do that? First off, you need to avoid the news. Okay, news is nothing but negative crap. Okay, so you turn it on, it's who died today, who got robbed today, traffic sucks, weather sucks, all that stuff. So if there's a positive story, it's put way back and it's only like 30 seconds or something. Okay, especially if you watch like the evening news or something. All right, turn it off. Who cares? Somebody's going to tell you if it's important. All right, nobody cares what happened to Jimmy Bob or Sue in Grove City. Okay. All right, another thing, read. Okay, read books. When is the last time you read a good non-fiction book that was made to help you? So these two books, The Secret, Psycho-Cybernetics, were two of the biggest influences on changing my world around. Yeah, so I've read them several times. And if you're not into reading, there's audible.com, which is basically an audio book that you can read or listen to in your car. So turn your car into Automobile University. You can also listen to great, inspiring podcasts. Okay, so School of Greatness is one that I listen to. Living La Vida Low Carb by Jimmy Moore. Okay, there's a whole bunch. All right. Let's see. Limit or eliminate negative people or situations. I know this might be hard if you're living with that person, but just try and be as positive as you can, and hopefully you'll start to change that person around. Otherwise, completely eliminate it. All right. We don't need negativity in your life. Okay. All right, and then set goals. Okay, so why are you here? If you have goals, you're going to have a plan. Okay, so what is your purpose? Even if you're 50, 60, 70 years old, you have the potential to live another 50 years. Okay, what are you going to do with that time? If you don't like what has happened so far in your life, you can change that. It's very simple. Okay, you can do it at the drop of a hat. But you just need to have a goal and you need to have a purpose, because your motivation is going to wane. I mean, you're not going to be motivated, super motivated every day to get up and go, 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 go. But if you have goals, you at least are going to have a plan for that day, because you're going to go after your goals. Okay, meditation, very, very important in cultivating a positive mindset, because we're all busy, okay, but we just need to take time for ourselves. And we need to sit down 10, 20 minutes a day, and we just need to shut our mind off and just breathe, okay? Very, very important, all right? There's two things we can control in our life, and that is our thoughts and our breath, okay? So you can go 30, 40 days without food. You can go 7 days without water, but how long can you go without oxygen? Okay, not very long. Don't try it. Okay, so I'll have a meditation that can help you on your way as well. Gratitude, just be thankful for everything that we have. Okay, so if you're negative towards life, then nothing good is going to come. Gratitude, I have a gratitude journal. I write out all the things that I'm thankful for, so it basically makes me focus on what I'm thankful for. Pushes everything else aside. Every little negative thing that happened, okay, it doesn't matter. Okay. All right, and just know you are the most important person in your life. If you aren't your best, how can you make others their best? Okay, so you have to be the best version of yourself in order to make others better. Okay, that's why I cultivate the improvement warrior saying in my life. Okay. All right, so moving on, something that can help you with your nutrition. So if you do want to get rid of that, the wheat, the sugar, get over those cravings, and get to a real whole-based food that tastes good, I've teamed up with Justin and Janelle Yule. They're from Fitness Revolution, Chanhassen, Minnesota. So I've worked with them very closely over the years. I've been in mastermind groups with them. I see them all the time at meetings, seminars, and stuff. We're doing a national challenge with a whole bunch of other fitness companies. This is going to open on January 1st, but there is a early bird registration, so you can get notified. Starts January 18th, and it goes for 21 days. It's only $21. So get in on this. Okay. And then special bonus for the live webinar. So for being on the live webinar, the Change You Challenge, this was something that I ran last January, 69 days to the new you. I'll have the link on there on the page so you can go to it. But basically 9 weeks, it's 9 weeks. So we go over goal setting, breathing, meditation, yoga, time management, book club, rules of life, decluttering, posture, sleep, all kinds of good stuff. Okay, and much, much more. If you do want in, email me at jasonyun@Improvement Warrior Fitness, and I will start to send that to you. I'll share the files with you. Okay, and finally, we have nutrition and wellness coaching. So if you're interested, I do nutrition and wellness coaching. So basically, take care of your sleep, your food, all that stuff. Try and get everything on track. Okay, so just go to tinyurl.com/yuncoach, and you'll see all the information on there. There will be a special price. The first 2 months will be the $99. Okay, so thank you for watching my presentation. I hope you liked it. I will take questions now. Okay. All right, let's see if we can do this. Q&A. Nope. Oh, here we go. There is a question already. Click on the selected button. Okay, I got it. This question is from Chandra. Is cane sugar preferable, or does it have the same effect? Cane sugar is still sugar. If you're looking for sugar substitutes, I would go with stevia. So Stevia. It's supposed to be pronounced stevia, but most people will call it stevia. It's kind of like Cuba Gooding Jr. versus Cuba Gooding Jr. But yeah, stevia is good. And there's a new thing, Lohan, I think. But yeah, stevia is good. Yeah, most sugars I would say just stay away if it has the name sugar in it. They're trying to say coconut sugar is a better replacement than normal table sugar, but it's still sugar. There's fructose in it. It goes to the fat cells and all that. So I try and cook with stevia most of the time, and if that's not possible, I'll use raw organic honey as next thing, but I'll usually use a lot less. So if a recipe calls for like a cup of honey, I'll try and use like a quarter cup, and then maybe like 2 tablespoons of stevia or a tablespoon of stevia to sweeten it. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, cool. Well, thank you for watching, and I will get the links up and get this up and going for you for the replay for everybody to watch. So again, yes, thank you for watching. Have a great day and Happy New Year. Stay strong, stay positive, be the Improvement Warrior.